Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching. Your Notre Dame live stream will begin soon. Thanks for watching.
2, 1.
Welcome everyone from the Rex and Alice Martin Media Center here at Corbett Family Hall on the campus of the University of Notre Dame. I'm joined by colleague and close friend Shannon Cullinan, who we're going to ask a few questions to today. But before we go any further, let me give just a quick update, since there were many questions that came in about the opportunity for current students to make it back to campus to retrieve their belongings from their dorms. An email actually went out yesterday afternoon following the governor of Indiana's recent announcement, which is allowing us to loosen some of the social restrictions. So it will begin on May 22nd that students will be permitted to come back and retrieve their belongings, but you will get a specific email allotting the exact time when you're to be in here so that we can maintain proper distancing in each and every one of the dorms. There will also be accommodations made for those who, for varying reasons, are not able to make it back to campus. But I'm pleased, as I said before, to be joined by our relatively new Executive Vice President, Shannon Cullinan, who is in his first year as the EVP, but certainly has a long history at Notre Dame, over 19 years in employment. But Shannon the history goes back to when his father was a student here at Notre Dame, and he was preceded by two of his older brothers who may be watching, and I just want to say, since I know both of them well, neither one of them is half the man that Shannon is. I'll hear back some feedback on that, I'm sure. But then Shannon graduated in 1993, went on to get his MBA at Wharton, and we had the privilege of working together very closely for several years at the South Bend Center for the Homeless, and then also together as Shannon ran the Boldly Notre Dame campaign here at Notre Dame, went and worked under the tutelage of John Affleck Graves as the Vice President of Finance, and then of course succeeded John just about 10 months ago. So really pleased to be here with you. Thanks so much, Shannon, for making the time, and we got lots of questions for you this morning. So let's get started.
I should have thought this through before I said yes.
You did. You said no several times before saying yes. So one of the things that's been amazing to me has been your ability to manage these large picture issues, incredibly complex and vast and far-ranging, but at the same time be attentive to the most minute details and with all of the complexity and crossover issues that are there. So in that vein, I'd like to ask you, what are your thoughts about the horizon of the London interbank offering rate? To those of us versed in the field, the LIBOR.
Lou is a very sophisticated finance person, in case you couldn't tell, Lou. And the 30-day, you know where the rate is at this point, Lou?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's at 22 basis points. So that's very good for Notre Dame on our short-term credit. But we'll leave Lou to the fundraising.
That's good. We will not be talking about any more LIBOR issues going there. So it's been a quiet first year as EVP. All joking aside, the word unprecedented is used quite a bit, and really we should qualify that as unprecedented in our lifetimes. Because if we look in the history of Notre Dame, can you point to any other moments that we can pull from where either Notre Dame has had to close its doors or dealt with a major health crisis?
Yeah, it's a great question. We should have Father Blantz on to answer it fully. Father Blantz, by the way, is a Holy Cross priest who taught history for 46 years.
Yeah.
And I think he's coming out with a book soon on the history of Notre Dame. It might be the most comprehensive we've seen here in late August. And here I am pitching somebody else's book. But, you know, the last time that I think students even had the option to go home was May of 1970. And it was sort of following the sad shootings at Kent State that kids were given the optionality they could go home without having taken their finals, or they could stay, right? And most of them, it sounds like, that were here at the time, stayed. But prior to that, I think we go all the way back to 1918. And it was not the Spanish flu that people were sort of sent home for. It was in April of 1918 that people were given the option, if you wanted to go and join sort of the war effort, World War I, you could graduate a little bit early and do that. But the only one that compares in terms of the duration is really the Great Fire of 1879, right? It happens April 23rd. I know the date because it's my daughter's birthday, of 1879. They send everybody home, and miraculously, Lou always says we couldn't get building permits in this amount of time. They're open in the following fall. But if you think about it, we've been closed for 7 weeks now, right? And we'll be closed for a number of weeks moving forward. it's the only one I can think of that compares in that way in
Right.
terms of duration. So we obviously had cholera and some other things on the health side that were really challenging for Soren and his friends early on. But in terms of duration, it's the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a myriad of complex problems, right? Challenges that we're dealing with. What have been the North Stars that have guided you and the senior leadership team in making all these decisions?
Yeah. I'd say this is when it's really nice to have a priest president, right? I mean, Father John, first and foremost, sort of the pastoral side of John, we've all benefited from it in the last couple of months, in many years, but in his own quiet, humble way, it's a huge gift, right? And in terms of the president, he's been president for 15 years. This is his 15th year, so he is a veteran, and he truly is unflappable. I mean, the information changes on a daily basis, but we met, it might have been 7 weeks ago, and we know what our North Stars are in terms of our mission. We know them really well, and you know this well, Lou. We talked to lots of other schools. Unsurpassed undergraduate education, premier research, and Catholic character informs all that we do. Well, the ones that we have now sort of emanate from that, right? We're going to protect our central mission of teaching and research, and certainly the health of our community. So parents, students, staff, alumni that come on campus and the like. And then the last is financial aid. We are going to continue to meet the full need for all of our students and families, especially those that are hurting now. So that just informs and it has informed the set of decisions we've made today and will make in the coming months.
Any insights in terms of how the Notre Dame leadership team is responding to this pandemic?
Yeah, I think we're fortunate in some ways. There were certainly committees that it's been set up more than a decade ago, I think, at this point, to respond to emergencies, right? So we have a policy committee that Father John's on, I'm on, Tom Burish, Marianne Kaur, Jack Swarbrick. And in times of emergency, the role of that group is to, one, make key decisions, and two, is to look forward, to be that group that's trying to anticipate a week, a month, and now even a year out. Now, we also have an emergency operations center, which is the group that tactically has done phenomenal work, and we practice this, right? Every year we give Mike Seaman a hard time, who's the head of safety here, and he makes us do these drills every year. So we have a scenario every year, we don't know what it is, and it's right after graduation, so we're tired. And we have about 300 people that go through these exercises on an annual basis, right? There's a communications team, there's a life support team, they really have this nailed. And
what are some of the scenarios?
Yeah, and so, during the polar vortex, we had to stand this thing up. Some of the other scenarios are you got kids overseas and you have to deal with, there's a shooting, right, in Paris. What do you do? Or there's a weather event on the campus. What do you do? Or, God forbid, there was an active shooter on the campus, right? And so I can assure you, though, we've never had a pandemic was not one of the ones Mike Seaman had selected amongst all that we've done. But we've done a lot of them, and credit to Mike and the team for, and even in this case, when we had to get 450 kids immediately, right, from all across the globe home, this is the group that gets that done, right? Yeah. And they were ready when that happened. They were all on it. They worked around the clock and got them home to their loved ones. We also have now, Lou, as a result of the pandemic, we've got all sorts of groups that are working on different pieces of this. We have a medical group right now that's engaged with certainly faculty on staff, Bernard Nalen and others who are former CDC folks that have been helpful. We're tied into Johns Hopkins thanks to a Notre Dame parent who runs infectious disease. We've got folks at Cleveland Clinic, and they're all informing sort of our medical knowledge and how we can respond to this, both the testing that we need to do and the tracing and quarantine and all of that. So it's been really helpful. And then in the academic side, I want to give some kudos to our faculty who pivoted in a really excellent way. And part of that is we had an instructional group that came together, a number of faculty, and helped each other when they had to go online and you had to use Zoom, and here's how you record, and here's how you rethink your curriculum. We have a research group, a library group, so the community's responded just in incredible ways.
That's fantastic. And recently, an announcement was shared that there was volunteer contributions that were made to the Student Emergency Relief Fund, right by the leadership of the university. Can you say a little bit about that and give us an update? Yeah,
this was just, we've done a number of things to mitigate some of the budget challenges to date, right? We've had just in the fiscal year we're in, we had to refund room and board. It was the right thing to do. It was $22 million, right? We have no retail on the campus currently. The endowment's down. And so we looked at it as a leadership group, you included, Lou, and we just said, and we have huge financial aid needs moving forward, that we needed to do our part. So yesterday we announced that we would do anywhere from 5% to 20% salary reductions for the senior leadership group, including leaders in athletics and other places. So it was, I give Father John credit for doing that.
Yeah. And everybody voluntarily has stepped up and is making these contributions. So tell us a little bit about, you oversee the operations of the university. Tell us a little bit about how the folks in those areas, what maybe some of the areas that might not be as obvious to others, how have they responded and what have they been doing?
Yeah. As you know, I have a veteran team. I think the average tenure on my team is 20 years, somewhere around there. And it's a great team. And John F. Graves, thank you. I've inherited a great team, and I've hired a few, but many of them have been here a long time. And so they've talked about pivoting. So I have Mickey Kidder oversees all of our, basically anything with a P&L, including the Morris Inn. And the Morris Inn has become a bit of a dormitory over the last couple of months. Those kids that can't get home, right, for any number of reasons, are in the Morris Inn, and it's actually an easy way for them to, for us to feed them as well in a safe way. We've had Mike Seaman and others, Doug Marsh, they went into the dorms, a whole cadre of people, and students needed things out of their room because they couldn't get back, right? I needed my books, I needed medicine, I needed my computer. And so we went in the rooms and packaged up a box for, I want to say we did 2,500 packages that went home to people that needed things out of their dorm room. So, and it goes on from there. I mean, people have just been extraordinary.
One of the things that's blown me away recently is just seeing that the main building has been, as you know, for the last couple of weeks converted into an assembly line, and how many people with the proper social distancing have kind of worked together to put together, at Father John's direction, special gifts for each and every graduating senior, professional graduate, as well as graduate students. About 3,500 boxes that have been very attentively put together. And I have a daughter who's a senior in college at another institution, and I don't see many other schools in the country doing anything like that.
It's been great to see it. It's been a mix of people. I mean, even Murph, right, who's the bartender over at the Morris Inn, just a whole range of people that I think, one, wanted to come in and be helpful, and they've risen to the challenge.
To be clear, just in case anybody gets their expectations up, there'll be no drinks inserted into any of these gifts here. But here's a question on the minds of many, and it comes from Phil Dubuque. Can you please provide more insight around the timeline projections to safely reopen campus?
Sure, a fair question at this point. Lou mentioned the letter that went out yesterday to students about coming back to get their belongings out of the dorms. The next one that's pretty concrete at this point, by May 15th, we will actually communicate regarding the second half of summer. We've said it's basically closed down through July 5th. A lot of programs have done that on their own. But would it make some sense to have a few programs that we try in the summer and pilot them with the notion that if we're going to do this in the fall, we should really, really have a trial run. So that'll be May 15th. And then I know Father John, he wants to get a note out to the students. It may be post-commencement, just with an update, his current thinking about the fall. And I think students and faculty would be the first two audiences that he wants to speak to on that. And I think by middle of June, at the latest, to make some sort of final decision on the fall. So that's the big one, right?
Yeah.
It's on the minds of faculty, on the minds of staff for a number of reasons, and particularly parents and students that are tuning in here.
That's great. Let's turn to some more kind of financial questions in particular, because we're
I
not
haven't
only
spent any time on that in the last couple of months.
we're not only dealing, obviously, with for our lifetimes an unprecedented health crisis, but a huge economic and fallout that has ensued. So, tell us a little bit about the economic impact and how do you see this impact stacking up to kind of previous crises that we've been through, 9/10, the dot-com crisis, 9/11. What's your assessment?
Yeah, great question. I would say, the similarities are that whether it was 08-09 or the dot-com, financial aid went up, right? We had families that were hurting. Certainly the endowment went down. That was another one. And then giving. I mean, we have just an incredible group of benefactors out there. I would put them up against any university in the country. So generous. But when it's tough, right, unrestricted giving and things like that go down. And those are similarities that are across this recession. What's unique is what you said earlier, is that this is a global health crisis on the one hand, and a financial crisis on the other hand. And people, even in the media, they're not sure which one to report on more. But what is unique about this one is we did sort of refund $22 million, right, for room and board. We have closed down the campus for the last 8 weeks. So no bookstore, no Morrison, no retail, right? And the other big one I would say to people to watch, if you're looking for a data point that I think is very unique, watch the unemployment claims. I mean, the unemployment claims over the last 6 weeks have been 30 million. 30 million people have applied for unemployment. And you may say that's sort of triggered by some of the stimulus. That is more than any 52-week period we can think of in history in 6 weeks. So in the 7th week, it'll surpass that, right? So, and the lagging indicator will be unemployment percentages, which they're estimating at anywhere from 20 to 25%. That's Great Depression level percentages, if you think about it. So that's entirely unique with what we have going on here. And for us, it's more about the revenue than even the endowment and the balance sheet, right? It's that you have this real loss of revenue as you look forward. What happens to your football revenue, right? What happens to unrestricted giving, your auxiliary revenue? If kids weren't here in the fall, what happens to your room and board? So it's a really different and unique picture in that way.
Yeah. You got to think it has to impact the LIBOR. Okay, the next question from Notre Dame alum Walt Heaney, class of 1963, Monk's class. How has our endowment been impacted by the pandemic? And if you could say a few words about, I don't think a lot of people understand how the endowment works or structures.
Yeah, I'll take the first one. At this point, and the investment office we're listening in, they do a great job, as you know. At this point, we're hoping that it's in the single digits in terms of how down it is for this year, under 10%. But it's only May. And it has been one of the most volatile markets, so that's moving every day. And our fiscal year is July 1 through June 30. So we'll see. And we have a lot of private equity. We haven't marked all of that yet. We'll see where it lands at the end of the day. The other important piece is the endowment is 40% of our revenue comes from the endowment payout, right? And that is our largest revenue source of all the revenue that we have. The only peer I can think that might be higher than that would be Princeton, who's up, 55, 60% in terms of their reliance on the endowment for revenue. Harvard and the Yales would probably be in the high 30s, right? And when it goes down, your payout rate goes up, right? And let's just simple math. Let's say your payout on the endowment was 5.5%, which ours is not. It's 4.65 going into this. And then it's going to go up to about 6.5% as a result of the endowment going down. Well, if your payout's at 6.5 and inflation is 2%, then you need an 8.5% return just to stay whole, right? Just to stay whole overall. So that's in terms of the endowment going down. Now, the one thing I wish I could change is that I'd like to call it the endowments, plural, right? The nomenclature I'd love to change. We have almost 7,000 unique endowment funds that make up the endowment, right? From many of you that are watching today, if you give a financial aid gift, you want that gift to go to a student of need, both today, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, so we guarantee it in perpetuity, and it's an agreement, right? We can't dip into it when times are tough. We've made an agreement with you that we're going to honor that, and we will honor that. It's not one of those piggy banks we can reach into when times get tough, and I don't think people think of it as one single fund that you can move around. And the last thing I'll say, Lou, is...
So many of them aren't just financial aid.
Oh.
It's about a third, right? Some of them are for an endowed professorship. Some are for an academic program, an endowment for excellence, for athletics.
Research,
yeah.
Right?
Right.
Father Ted said long ago, he said, show me the top 10 endowments and I'll show you the top 10 universities. And he's not far off when you think of that. The only thing I'd add to that is you look forward, it'll not just be the scale of what the endowment can do in terms of the dollars. How flexible is it, right? And you know this well, Lou, that to have a chair within a discipline or a chair that's for the dean are very different things, right? You can be much more nimble in the future. So, yeah, lots of, and I get this question a lot. This is not just around the pandemic, but we do have close to 6,800 endowment funds, unique
Right.
endowment funds.
So, one of the questions we've heard a lot, I know you've heard a lot as well, is, hey, Notre Dame has such a big endowment. Why does it need any more money?
Yeah.
And can you help us answer that, help people understand?
Yeah, part of that is just the restriction that I just talked about, is most of it's restricted, right?
Right.
In the future. And financial aid would be the other piece I'd bring up to say, our financial aid need is going to go up, I think somewhere between 20 and 25%. Year over year, it's going to go up by that much.
In cash.
Cash.
Yeah.
So $30 million, right? And there's two things that drive that. One is you have more people that need it, right? So if you have 48% of kids on aid in the undergraduate program, you might have 50%.
Yeah.
And the average award is about $40,000 for scholarship. Well, that's going to go up as well in addition to the number. And so you can't just dip into the endowment, right? When you have a restricted resource already, and cover that,
Correct.
Moving forward. So
we're not just relying on philanthropy to help us get through. Can you talk to us about some of the belt tightening measures that the university is exacting to try to help cover the gap as well?
Yeah, thank you. So, and we did move pretty quickly on this. Some of this was to shore up the budget year that we're in. And so we did no staff hiring, no salary increases starting the fiscal year July 1, no salary associated with a promotion moving forward. I went to Doug Marsh, our university architect, and I just said, Doug, I need you to slow down construction. I need you to halt construction in some cases, not start it. And I need you to stop the renewals, right? The campus is in great shape when it comes to renewing buildings and the like. And people have responded. And all on the non-labor side, we just said, keep it almost to nothing. And people have responded in great ways. I think we will balance our budget this year, which will be just an unbelievable accomplishment for this group on campus. They've just done a great job. I can't say enough good things about them. So,
Yeah,
but the other thing, Lou, as you know, we haven't had to have workforce reductions. I mean, we have peers out there that are really struggling with furloughs and layoffs and things like that. For us, and I've talked to the staff about this, the big signal for us will be the fall. Can we welcome our students back to campus, right? That'll be the next set of really tough budget decisions that we have to make if we can't get them back here on campus.
And I just want to say kudos to you and your team, because you have not cut off one employee to date. And we have not furloughed or laid off. And you've worked really hard to try to preserve that, whether they're food service workers, whether they're folks who clean the buildings, whether they're the grounds, whatever it might be, even if they've not been able to come to work and been able to only modestly work remotely, we've been able to keep them whole, including part-time folks with benefits. Yeah. And that's been noble, and I think it's kept many of us feeling very proud.
No, these are our people, right? And worked here for decades, many of them. So, and we know them.
Yeah.
You and I know them. We know their families. We know, that's our culture. So we're going to do everything we can.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that this pandemic and its economic crisis is having on higher education as a whole?
Yeah, it's interesting. I talk to my peers almost weekly. We have a group of other EVPs, and so you get a real sense of where people are at. Excellent schools, I must add. And so it's, those, I really feel for those schools that if they have a health system or medical system, this is a tough time. One, we owe them an enormous debt of gratitude for stepping up, right? They can't do elective services or surgeries or any of those things, which from a financial structure is important. And in some cases, they're adding labor, right, on that side of the house. But it's been tough. You have institutions that have already come out publicly to say, really good institutions, that they may have a revenue challenge of anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion next year, right? Yeah. And they've come out with mitigation that has been everything from we're cutting budgets 20% across the board to, your equivalent of a 401k. You used to have a match, that's gone, to furloughs and the like, and even layoffs. So I feel for a number of these institutions, particularly those with medical systems and health systems. It's a real challenge.
Right. Yeah. So there have been some rumblings of late that you're well aware of about the university potentially accepting funding from the CARES Act, the federal government. And Father John recently announced that we would not be applying nor accepting any of these funds. Would you please help us understand why?
Yes, and so this is a piece of the CARES Act. It's called the Higher Ed Relief, I think, Act is actually the name of it. It doesn't have anything to do with the small business loans that were put in place. And in fact, Congress came up with a formula for each school, depending on what they call Title IV kids, which are some of your neediest students that you have. They gave you a dollar amount that they just put out there for the public to look at. Ours was $5.8 million, right? And half of it had to be given directly to students for food, clothing, needs that they had in their communities, separate from Notre Dame. And then the other half, the thought, at least for us, would be you'd use it for financial aid. And we spent a lot of time looking at it, and the regulations weren't quite clear. And some of the legal pieces that were part of it, we just thought, in the end, there were some hooks in the regulations that just would have put us at risk in a way that we didn't think made a lot of sense for Notre Dame. And the other part that we came to, we're going to take care of our kids. We are going to take care of our students, and so we've asked Congress, use that money, as intended for that many more kids. We'll take care of our Notre Dame kids. So.
Great, good decision. As you look to the coming fiscal and academic year, however that plays out, what do you envision as our greatest needs and priorities?
Number one, financial aid. Number two, financial aid. Number three, financial aid, I would say. And it was the biggest goal in the campaign. I think it's the only one you announced moving forward, right? And again, it'll be up 20 to 25%. And that's just the undergrad piece, right?
Right.
There's the fellowship side and the graduate school and the like that you can place on top of that, right, moving forward. And so that there is no question that's a solid $30 million number that we have to figure out moving forward, right? You guys have made, thanks to people watching, incredible progress on financial aid. Last year we did a staff early retirement program. Right? And we had, I think it was 288 people retired. And half the funds from that went to financial aid, which is about $11 million recurring, which, thank goodness.
That's huge.
Thank goodness. So we're trying to do our part as well here at Notre Dame. But to all you out there that support financial aid, I'm a financial aid kid from long ago. So just thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And volley it to another financial aid kid, from Western New York as well. And I'm really proud that Notre Dame has skin in the game and has made some tough business decisions to reallocate resources through a number of the measures that you've already talked about to get more money into the hands of our students and their families, especially as need is only going to increase. So I have a final.
You should say something about your student emergency relief fund. That's your good work.
No. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to. It's great he reverses the table ever so gently so that I'm asked the question. But we're going to begin. We've launched the Student Emergency Relief Fund, which is a fund that is going to focus on the meeting the expendable needs of financial aid over the course of this next year to bridge the gap. And so we're asking for people to do what they can to make an expendable financial aid gift at the level that they can so that we can help meet this gap that Shannon has so eloquently discussed. The reduction in revenues, while financial aid is probably going to go up at least $25–30 million over what we had budgeted in this coming year. And that will be our primary focus for fundraising. So, So our final question, Shannon, is how have you witnessed Notre Dame stepping up to be a force for good? In the words of our founding father, Father Soren, to be a force for good in this time of coronavirus?
We could spend a half hour on that. It's been a privilege to be part of that in some small way. But even regionally here, we've had our procurement group has stepped up, and we have sort of national agreements where we can get access to some of what the local hospitals need here, right? By way of PPE and the like, we've been able to do that. We've had faculty members that actually have taken our 3D printers, right? And we're delivering equipment to the local hospitals as well, which is just phenomenal. The other one that I don't know if everybody knows this, but I think the stat is somewhere around 1% of the doctors that are out there are undergrads from Notre Dame, right? And talk about being on the front, and that's just the doctors, right? There's plenty of other Notre Dame grads that are in medical and health systems as well. So hats off to our Notre Dame community. I keep hearing about them nationally, what they're doing. I just talked to Jeff up in Chicago. He's doing a great job. He had a whole picture of Notre Dame grads that are working in his hospital. So
Yeah.
they're too innumerable to count. But the culture here, I always say to my team, I say 3 things I need you to do moving forward. 1, stay humble. 2, stay hungry to advance Notre Dame. And 3, be hopeful, especially that last one right now. And I think the Notre Dame family is sort of spreading hope all over the place. So.
Yeah. Hungry, humble, hopeful, 3 good H words for us to close with. Shannon, I just want to say thank you, and I know you'll brush this aside, but I know it's your first year and it's been a baptism by fire, but I see your car in the parking lot at 8 a.m. and I know it's there till about 11 p.m. each night, and I know that you and the team are doing everything that you can to rally by our students, and it's all about the mission, and that we're really privileged to serve an institution that is that's about the common good and about making a difference in the world, and we're really, really grateful for your leadership and your example, and you step into a long line of great leaders, and I know you're going to take Notre Dame to the next level. So
we will come out of this stronger. I have no doubt, right? And all for that lady on the dome. So thank you to all of you for everything you're doing out there. We're grateful.
So to close our program today in a little bit of a different fashion, we'd like everyone now to kind of participate with us in a Hail Mary, and then I'm just going to say a few words about next week's program, and we're going to close with a video, a brief video this session. So just stick with us, if you would, for just a few more minutes. So again, as Shannon references Our Lady, who watches over and guides this institution each and every day, and in our mission to be leaven for a world that is deeply in need, let us call upon her directly, and please join us from your homes as we offer a Hail Mary together. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Thanks again, Shannon. Now, next week, here's the big plug. We are going to come to you not with a traditional program like this, but next Tuesday from 2 p.m. in the afternoon until 10 p.m. That evening. We're going to come to you with a specific show which is called The Fight. And it's going to be all about how Notre Dame alumni, parents, and friends, folks from here on campus are rallying together during this time of coronavirus to make an impact. There will be countless heroic stories. You're going to hear from people who are on the front lines, and you're going to hear from a number of university leaders, from Father John and Shannon and others across the board, including some of our more visible leaders like Coach Kelly and Athletics Director Jack Swarbrick, our new basketball coach Neil Ivey, and our football quarterback Ian Book. You're also going to hear performances from the Notre Dame Glee Club, from the folk choir, and from the Celtic women's choir, Chloe Agnew. You're going to hear heroic stories that will really be incredibly inspiring, from folks in Notre Dame. And then we asked Garth Brooks, who opened up his college tour here at Notre Dame and really fell in love with the place, to do an interview. And he said, you know what, instead of an interview, I'd like to do that interview, but I'd also like to offer a special song. So he's going to perform next week. You know, he's the #1 solo artist in American history. He's surpassed Elvis and sold more albums than anybody. So we're really grateful that he's going to join us. Plus, there will be a number of other surprises. So don't miss next Tuesday. Tune in. It will be on all social media platforms. We'll get out more specific information to you for next week. And it's going to be a time where we talk about how the Notre Dame family is not only rallying together to support the world, but to help our students and those families who are going to be affected dramatically by this economic decline, so that we can leave no student behind. We make sure that we meet their financial aid packages and their increased needs, and each and every student will have that Notre Dame degree in the coming years. So if we could close, let's show a clip which is promoting The Fight next Tuesday from 2 to 10 p.m. Thank you.